now is a time, and thank you for the like, and to relax, take some time for yourself, and savor the moment. Being mindful as a content creator that there are always going to be people perhaps coming and going for whatever reason but that there will be people afterwards that see this. Trying to have a relaxing pace as I lead us through this. But also wanting to make sure that there's at least one person here right at the start of this practice. If that takes a while, and you are eager to get right into it, please know that I will try and chapter this afterwards and word it as something to the effect of practice begins. You're also welcome to just simply skip ahead and perhaps tell yourself that is what you're meant to hear. Where you land is where you're meant to be and what you're meant to hear. Maybe you're not sure if meditation's your thing and you'd rather see me first. Maybe hear me do a song or two and then decide. Well, your options then are to check out my other videos or to skip right to the end of this, as I intend to do at least one song. But, as it says in the description, which hopefully you've read beforehand, not that it's a requirement, as it says in the description, this is designed to be even for people who are new to this stuff. This kind of practice has existed for a long time and been becoming more mainstream. But some people haven't tried it yet. Whether they've thought about it or not, they actually haven't. Meditation in general. They just, one thing I can say right off the hop, if I've held you this long, is that I have ADHD. To just simply sit and be in a meditative state. I also have tinnitus. It wouldn't work very well. But to be guided through something such as in this way, or in some format, sure, it may still take some looking for the right one, finding the speaker that resonates with you, the words that are resonating, and patience. But you can get there. You can. You can find such content that brings you healing, joy, and hope. I do hope that this is that for you. Again, I do feel like I want at least one person to be here as I actually start delivering the body of this meditation. So I am watching. I'm watching and waiting. So a few minutes ago, I just suggested what you can do if you don't just want to sit quietly in the music and wait with me. I hope you will enjoy either this video or my other content. I thank you for being here. I thank you for being on my content with me. I'm thankful that you are alive. I maybe don't know you. You may have some imperfections. Nobody is perfect. So as long as you are trying to be a good person to yourself and to others, I wish you goodness. Oh my goodness, do I wish you goodness. As I hear thunder outside, I believe. I wish you kindness and love and success. Now, one thing I'd like to suggest is that if you have a particular lotion or perfume or just simply a comforting scent, and where's the left? Get it out, we're gonna have virtual massage. Just kidding. I know this may be like humor in a meditation. Sure, why not? I've seen healers that use humor. I am a musician. I am someone who I believe has a sense of humor. So sometimes it will get kind of all mixed in. The person that we had there left just before that anyway. So they missed out. Hopefully you got to appreciate it. If you didn't like it, I hope you look past it. But what I was saying, trying to remember also to keep myself in a Zen state. I was going to do this sitting just outside the room because it's noisy out the one window. This was the best place to come and play music, and it's relaxing. If I put it on the floor, I could have laid on the bed, but I don't want to fall asleep. And I didn't want to necessarily have this bright light on. Do I? No, that looks like a pillow. So as I was saying, just to finish my thought, and then I'll let the music settle in for a bit, and we'll hop into this. If you have a favorite lotion, perfume, cologne, or just simply a favorite scent that you would like to envision. Have you ever done that with a scent or perhaps food where you have actually, especially food, where you've probably gotten a craving? And sometimes, I've experienced this anyway, it's almost to the point of actually tasting and enjoying it before you've even started eating it, before you've even gotten near or access to it sometimes. Usually I find it then gets to a point where it's like, okay, well, that's lovely. Now I actually want it. You know. So whatever is most accessible, and it's not a requirement. It's just I would like to suggest that you might enjoy doing so. Whether you are inside or outside, I would like you to take a moment to think about the weather. Is it raining? Here it is. I knew it was supposed to when I heard a sound from the upstairs foyer. I was like, what is that clicking? Rain on the window, I believe. Is it blue sky and sunny? Gotta be careful. We have our dog in here who has a name that matches one of the words I just said. But he's sleeping and relaxing. If you have a pet and you'd like them on your lap, if holding a pillow gives you comfort, if you have a loved one with you, and that's comfortable. If you have envisions of having a pet, perhaps someday, perhaps keep that in your thoughts. Perhaps you want to envision pretty flowers, or just something beautiful. If a scent doesn't, if a scent, an aroma doesn't come to your mind, and feel free to share, of course, like I say in the description. That's one of the things I mentioned. What comes up for you? I realize sometimes in these kind of practices, and I'm trying not to be that way, somebody will ask you to think up something, but they don't. Sometimes that takes time, and they don't always give you that time for whatever reason. Whether you're at a group that only runs from a certain time to a certain time, or they're just eager to read the next part, whatever it is. Now, holy! Just a few seconds. It started pouring outside where I live. Well, rain always starts somewhere, right? Dry. And then it falls from the sky, wet. And then you look out the window, but you want to forget your struggles, your pain, and sometimes it doesn't matter how blue the sky is, how much the sun is shining. If you deal with depression, mental health struggles, pain and struggle in general, most of us do, some of us more than others. You know that or simply, you may enjoy looking out the window. It may remind you of the world, what you're trying to stay away from, what you're trying to feel protected from. Whether that is just a lot of noise, unpredictability, triggers. Said something else in the description about triggers and how You can only avoid them for so long. You can find coping mechanisms that may bring some comfort, but really and truly, you can only avoid them for so long. And then you have to deal with them most of the time. Not all triggers are bad, but the ones that are uncomfortable will stay uncomfortable until you work through them, most likely. So I want this to be a space for you to be able to do that as well in the chat and in the comments afterwards. Now, I've been rambling for a while, and even though it would have been great for someone to have been there to hear most of all of that, there hasn't been. And I would say that especially, but maybe kind of what's about to follow, really didn't matter hugely where you tuned in on. I'm hoping it'll be the case with this. I'd love to have seen somebody tune in, although it's only been 16 minutes. Okay. Tune in so I could sit down and settle and hope that they stay and enjoy it. I just hope that this brings joy. Yes, I'm accepting joy, friends. And healing, if this remains quiet. I am going to turn the music down a little bit because I'm going to be stepping a little bit more out of the room, and I want you to be able to hear me. Welcome. And I also want you to be able to possibly hear in the background, hopefully, the rain hitting the window. But if that's a sound you don't like, know that my speaking and my music will cover it. The music track you're listening to is actually homemade by one of the people on this that operates this channel. Part of me wants to do a sound check, but I know that I'm playing the music from a different device than I'm recording from, so I'm hoping it's fine. Otherwise, I've noticed that sometimes my device records speaking fine, but instruments not. However, I'm not playing an instrument, and this music is so light in actuality that I don't think that that's going to be a problem. So please settle in. If you haven't already, take a moment, focus on your breath, as they like to say in these kind of things. The bedroom is exceptionally dark. Sorry about that. Without the window being covered, because it is fairly cloudy and rainy out there. How much of the puddle? Oh, the whole thing's a puddle. I want to know, of course you've seen rain, but have you ever seen rain like this? I almost want to show you. I almost want to show you. And maybe I will. I just don't want to be too obvious either. That person's got to get out of the car soon, unless they're going to wait to see if the rain lets up. But yeah, I don't think none of that's super obvious. Charge that. That's the other thing. 55, okay. Watch, by the time I get to the window, it'll slow down. While ago, just to quickly divert from things before we truly get into this that has had a bit more of an intro than I thought it was going to. It had the idea of a segment. I don't want you to be focusing too much on the time. There we go. Of writing a song, I think it was, or a poem about what I see when I look out the window. And suggesting that you do the same, or at least tell me what you see. And then I could base what I do on that. Not that I don't look out the windows every day. I think we're still sitting in the car waiting. I think the front light is showing. Do you like being letting you get caught in the rain? Just kidding. So, again, I welcome you to, as I look for my paper script, here it is, to get comfortable. And to, of course I'm going to get comfortable, and that's obvious. And yes, I haven't led a lot of meditations, but I understand. That's true. It's just something that is commonly said when in these kind of things. But of course, if you're not comfortable how you're sitting or laying, you would adjust and hopefully get comfortable. Just like, I will say though, as far as the whole talk about, whether it's stressful times or just in general, the whole talk about breathing, if we were to say the same thing, well, we all would breathe or we'd not be alive, so I don't need to be told. I'm not going to tell you whether to breathe out of your nose or out of your mouth or both. I know it makes sense for me and you do what makes sense for you. But I will say that there is something to focused breathing, to deep breathing. And I'm not necessarily a heavy yogi meditation kind of person. But I've noticed when stressed or simply when just trying to relax, get to sleep, whatever it is, that the focusing on the breathing, yes, I'm human and sometimes the thoughts are still going to be there. And sometimes they seem stronger than the focused breathing. But if you keep doing it, I once knew somebody, she was somewhat intelligent, but in some ways not, but anyway, who used to add a physical movement aspect to it. That seemed to make a lot of sense to me, actually. Just pretty much raising and lowering your hand or your whole arm. So raising on the in-breath, holding it as long as it's comfortable. And then the other thing about doing that is, depending on how you move your arms and hands, you can almost be like pushing it away to kind of go into the next one. Anybody that does Tai Chi or whatever will be familiar with this a little bit probably, or yoga even possibly. But it also, as I was mentioning, when sometimes you have other thoughts as well happening, sometimes I'll tell myself in my lifestyle, I have quite a bit of time during most of my days to deal with stuff and to think. Sometimes truly when you're trying to fall asleep, whether you sleep with, a partner or whatever, you do have to get up, note something down, because your mind wants to remember it. And a tactic that it will use is repetition. Whether you want to call it repetition or rumination. And if you're repeating their thoughts in your head, or a thought in your head, again and again and again and again and again so you don't forget it, it may work your way into a dream, or it may just keep you awake. But other times, when you need to focus and you're having a certain thought, I would recommend this, the breathing thing. And not only are you pushing out the out breath, like physically with your hands, or pushing down, pushing backwards, imagine pushing those thoughts aside for now. My viewers, doing so much greatness. Sorry. Just a little pep talk for myself. Keep me motivated, because it has been a bit quiet here. Which is kind of what you want for meditation, I suppose, but you also want to know that you're impacting people. There's a lot of stuff on YouTube. And people have a lot of distractions in their mind, on their devices, in their life, or at least things keeping them busy. Some don't as much, and whether you do or whether you don't, I hope that you are taking time to be here, to get something from this. And I'm curious your experience with it. Even though I'm not super busy, today being one of those days, this was one of the things I wanted to do. The other thing isn't far from home really at all, but it would require it not to be pouring rain. So, and then the other thing I wanted to do is maybe post some music. So we'll see how this is doing at that point, I think. But I don't have a lot of other things that I need to rush to right now. I have all day to look at them. And that's something else I sometimes tell myself. Nighttime, depends who you are. I sometimes think, why would anybody stay up past midnight? I'm in my late 30s. I guess when I was in my 20s I did, but everybody's different. And some people work at night, Again, I will show myself after all of this. But yeah, at the same time, I sometimes tell myself that when I'm trying to sleep, that's not a time to think. I have lots of time during most days to do so. Yeah, it doesn't always work, but that's what I try to tell myself. And if I have more of the mindset of listening to it and letting it work, then maybe it would. Some things are not in our control. Some things are not in our control. And I think we need to realize that. I say this because the example I just spoke of is something I think we all have the power to be able to do. It may take practice, but I do feel like we all have the power to be able to do it. One big reason I feel that, although we should all be there for each other as much as we can be, in helping each other and trying to understand each other and empathizing with each other, although we should, sometimes all of us won't have that. And then it's what can we... This is a big lesson I've had, because I used to think even though I often don't feel like I am in control of my life and things, it's just kind of unfolding as it wants to, regardless of what I feel. I've learned that when you don't rely on anybody else, not that you shouldn't, but when you don't, I want to sound like my friend for a moment and say anything is possible. I would say some things still might not be, but You'll be able to tell the difference, and you will find some sense of control. And we all want that in life, of our own lives, sometimes of other people. Why? Because it makes you feel calmer, makes you feel like you know what life is doing, what other people, you know, watch a psychic tune in and say, oh, I do because I'm psychic. I have certain abilities, that ain't one of them. Now, if somebody sees the duration mark, they're going to say this is well in. If they don't, and they just hear the music, they might think it's just beginning. I just really quickly want to check something, which would have some irony. And then I'll come back and I guess we'll jump right into it. I know, we haven't done that yet. Well, yes and no. But there's been a bit of this is very organic, freestyle. That's why it's different than some others you might find, which are very scripted. But I'm hoping, I didn't want seeing me to be distracted, but I'm hoping that is a benefit to some people. So again, focusing on your breathing, especially that technique, maybe give that a try, and I'll be right back. Perfect. So, this is a helpful practice now if you're feeling anxious in some way. This is helpful and sort of resetting and allowing yourself to feel peacefulness and calm. Okay. Again, the awareness on the breath, just noticing the natural inhale and exhale of your breathing. Also noticing any thoughts that you're trying to not focus on right now. Sometimes in these practices, they say, don't give any focus on your thoughts, let them go. That's great, but I think they should also say you can focus on them later. I mean, it should be obvious, again, and sometimes stating the obvious is annoying, but you can focus on them later. Sometimes if we hear just that first part, we might think, I have to just let my stresses go. We may want to. And some of them maybe we should. But other ones you do eventually have to deal with. At least, even in some way, in some capacity. Now, I better focus, and I attended a group the other day and got a little printout of a meditation, so I'm going to read that. And then on the other side of the page, I started writing one. And it kind of fits with the latter part of the title, which I believe I fit in there. And it may hit a bit closer to home. However, finding moments of relaxation, finding moments of peacefulness should be something we all want. Even if we like to keep busy, even if we like to keep busy, and obviously, again, this is obvious, so I probably don't even need to say it, and I hadn't said it until now. It's been super motivating, by the way. The food came for like 50 seconds. But maybe they're anxious, not seeing who they're hearing. However, I would hope that I sound like a caring, kind, friendly person. What's inside is what matters most. I'm not going to say attractiveness outside is not a nice thing. But, and I don't know. Most meditation videos, you don't see the person anyway. This one, you'll be hopefully feel happy when you do. However, there's nobody who's really been here for super long. And, I hope you'll feel that does not mean that the content isn't great. It just means, like I say, lots of other distractions, lots of other things on YouTube. It isn't for everybody. It isn't for everybody either. But, again, I'm trying to do it in a way where most people that see this would hopefully get a benefit, would hopefully, find some relaxation and enjoy it. So, now I have been intending to sit down and lead this. I've been a little bit worried about volumes of things, although I'm talking quite loud, and I hope that that's not a turnoff for this kind of thing. I'm not shouting. I have the music pretty soft. I felt like I needed to put the AC on light for a few minutes. It was kind of feeling warm and stuff up here. That's why one would do it, right? But I may turn it off to try and focus, to try and not have that in the background, because if you're noise sensitive like me, and depending on your sound system, you'll notice it. And you might wish you weren't noticing it. So with that consideration for you in mind, I'm going to do one other thing. I hope it won't come across the wrong way. I just feel like it's something that maybe I need to find myself doing. And there's definitely a part of this, even though sometimes it's hard to see the fruition of it. There's definitely a part of this that I feel quite strongly could be helpful. I don't do this often. I often feel like it's better if it's just organic, and oftentimes it is. But I would like to take a moment just to sit right there and tell you how I became the Prince of Bel-Air. Just kidding. That's not copyright. That's just a little snippet of familiarity to a lot of us that rolled out of my mouth. And into your hearts. Welcome. Don't mind my silliness at times. And the thing that I was about to do before starting to read this, partially my own creation, partially somebody else's, but there's no source listed, and the person laughed, so I'm going to do it. I don't think that it's an audio issue because I'm recording the same as usual. The green dots along the bottom don't usually get beyond 2 or 3 of them. It's at that. So I don't think it's that. But what I want to do in a kind of unique location that I don't often do this in, but it's practically where I'm standing, and if I'm going to be doing this standing there, then I might as well do it sitting, because I've been wanting to sit for a while now. But I have been getting exercise. So yes, I will quickly I'm just going to try and talk a little bit louder, and if I need to have more coffee later, I will. I am going to put the AC on. I'm sorry if you're sensitive to the noise. I'll put it on light in consideration for the fact that this is supposed to be relaxing. And what I will do, I thought that said 2 for a moment there. Maybe I should show myself, but in this low lighting, but then that may look awkward. Plus, I'm going to have a mirror right behind me, which also might be distracting. And actually, I wonder though, there's a part of me that thinks, I wonder if I should show the mirror, that way you can maybe see your reflection in it. Wouldn't that be a powerful type of meditation? It would. But, some people, they kind of get themselves ready. They don't spend a lot of time looking in a mirror. And sometimes they may find it uncomfortable. Maybe they don't like what they see, or they don't like something about themselves. So you don't have to. Again, I will say what the person who just tuned in didn't hear. You left, so no, I won't. Or maybe I should. Because after stating that, anybody who's still here or listens to this part might be like, well, now that I'm thinking about, now that I'm being critical of myself. So that might be an example of that breathing motion. Breathe in, hands and arms up, or at least hands up, elbows up. Breathe out, push it behind you, push it to the side of you. Maybe even let your hands down and push it up to the sky. So breathe up, drop your hands. I'm going to try that because I've never done that before. I haven't done this other one very much, but I have occasionally. It's actually it's quite natural to want to breathe out when you drop your hands. There also could be like when you're in defeat or whatever, whether you drop to your knees or not, you probably take a big breath and you sigh and drop your hands, sometimes. So, but I'm going to try this. What might work, because I think I just noticed that this could be the case, what might work is not letting your hands completely drop. So like bringing them to your shoulders. I almost want to be, I think that I'm explaining that well enough. I almost wanted to be on camera for that part. But nobody's here at the moment, and I think I explained it well. So, and then, man, that takes practice though, or at least for me it's seeming to. So I'm going to do a couple rounds of that. What I'm doing before I start the next practice here, person left, so I know what I'm doing. And what I'm actually finding that I'm doing is I'm doing this kind of for the first time, this particular thing, is I'm almost doing a motion which I would liken, I would liken to basketball playing. Now, even if you don't play basketball. So you're holding the ball. Yeah, so maybe you're not even bringing your arms all the way up above your head. And maybe you can't for whatever reason. But hopefully you can at least bring them up to your shoulders. You're going to bring your hands forward. Not necessarily your arms, but your hands forward. As you breathe in, back quickly, and then forward again, breathe out. I'm going to try that myself. Okay. I think it's important to also pause for a moment to get yourself situated, because I'm kind of doing the opposite of what I'm saying. No, I would see, for some reason, when I breathe in, I'm wanting to put my hands backwards or like stretch. Again, that's pretty common, and I can't believe I just saw my arm for the first time there. I saw my arm on the video, of course. I think I've seen somebody do that before, actually. Another thing I'm kind of liking it to is like taking something and going, yeah, whatever. Yeah. Which, we should really take everything that comes at us and process it and decide, is this something that I need to hold on to or look at further or not? But if it's not, toss it into the hoop. Score. You got rid of something you didn't need to hold on to. What a neat analogy that was. Again, I want to take a moment to, I was going to say something that I don't hear often, but I've heard at a few things I've been at lately, and it's fairly commonly said. And actually, I messaged somebody saying, why is this important? So important that it's like, gets said all the time. You don't take a break from talking until somebody's here and read what you said. After all the hecticness, there used to be a coffee group actually, would probably benefit from sitting for a moment and thinking in thankfulness that I've just gotten some food to help me out during my hard time. I've just, whether easy or hard, gotten through being amongst a lot of people. It's funny because something I said just prior to that made me think of somebody I met at a similar kind of thing. And yay me. You turn the AC on just a little bit stronger, just for a few minutes, because I'm not standing that close to it. Well, I don't usually like to even have it on in the rain. I don't know if there's anything to that. My device is being a bit slow. What I'm going to touch on before finally getting to the script and sitting down for a bit is self-governance and working towards equal relationships between all of us, regardless of cultural, religious backgrounds. Working towards equality. Understanding and respect. As much as possible. One thing I've forgotten a couple times is that this I was on it a little bit unplugged, and this device is going to need to be plugged in soon, but I hope that I can get through this next practice and that you'll stay with me and let me know what you think of it. I'm at 36% with 50. It says lasts for 56 minutes. However, the person that came here did not. Again, maybe the device died or something else, may not be personal, but for some reason I feel like it's interesting to note when it's happening. I know I'm not doing anything wrong or anything bad. In fact, I'm thinking I'm doing something really good. And that's something else I wanted to do, I've been meaning to do, and I'm going to quickly do. And if this works for you, great. If it doesn't, ignore it. Although I would think that the second half probably would to some level. Let's try to think about how I want to do this. I talked a little bit about religion on my video the other day, actually. I don't do that often, or politics. And if the state of your politics where you're at aren't good, think of what you can do as a citizen and do your best and know that you're simply doing your best, even if you're not always succeeding. Now, I don't feel like talking towards something holy or a little bit just from the back of my car, but got a dangly thing on his back. The guy from the jewel show, and a little bit like I can't remember who the other one was. Anywho, taking a moment to. This is how I truly feel like I want to do it, so I'll just do it this way. Say to all my angels in heaven, and I will address yours in a moment, to the best of my ability at this point. I hate to do this in the bedroom, but I ask for protection and goodness in this room and in our lives and in our viewers' lives. I ask that this process of which we're doing and about to do, well, yes, bring healing, bring comfort, bring closure to something that somebody is dealing with in their life, perhaps. As I watch the ripples in the puddle and the low spots on the street outside, and the puddles and mud forming in the grass, which I've not noticed ever doing, and that maybe just says how much rain we've got. And I ask my loved ones, and perhaps even those of viewers who might see this, to be with us. If you can get a memo to God, please tell him to spread himself as best as he can through all of our lives. I'm not meaning to be preachy or say that you must have God in your life. Another way that I could say it is healing, goodness. It's raining, and well, so therefore it might not be. I need to rest for a moment, and even though I'd be talking on the phone, I might have to quickly make a phone call before coming back up, because I'm in a room where somebody keeps their medication and takes half the first part of the day, half the other half. And I'm seeing a full one half in both halves. And this is the thing. Sometimes, as we're going through our day-to-day, the things that we commonly do, sometimes it's hard to remember if we haven't done it because we do it so much. But I'm a little bit worried. Did he take his meds? So I'm going to call him and say, "Hey, card. I thought it did before he left, though." But he was giving a quick answer. He was on his way. I want to take a moment to share something a bit more personal. And it does feel weird that I've not been on the camera for this whole time. Although it wasn't my intent, although I didn't know how long this was going to be. I don't want to retitle it, redescription it, blah, blah, blah. So I'm just going to roll with this here. Now, I just came upstairs. I had the AC on very briefly down there because I'm just finding it a little bit muggy. And I forget if I turned it off. But I just wanted to quickly say, sometimes, though, if you feel like taking care of something quickly would be easy and put your mind at easy and at ease, then I would say take a moment and do it. Nobody's here right now, but for anybody who watches afterwards, even if I watch back, which I may or may not, but, or if somebody skipped ahead to this because the description and the title intrigued them or something that they heard within it intrigued them, but they skipped ahead and they're listening to this part. Because it could happen, Basically, yeah. Like I just made a phone call. I was talking a moment ago about somebody in our house that takes meds for, if I'm being quite honest, epilepsy. And there was a point in time, it was dormant for a long time, like this channel was, and then it was every couple months, pretty much. It's been more than a year. But in that time, this individual has been taking, like I say, not a large dose, but half a med in the morning, half a med at bed. And so I've got to think that the meds are working. I mean, I will say, if your meds work for you and you're not on a whole bunch, that could be a good thing. But if you're on a whole handful, like Ozzy Osbourne, Rip, or whatever, but so many people, that's not really a wise idea. And it's not really healthy. Everybody's different. Meds affect everyone different, and there is a part of me that feels like it's placebo. You're taking something with the intent that it's doing something. So sometimes it's hard to get into certain mindsets, but that's what's getting you into them. However, glad you did repositioning. I thought maybe you was having a time to handle it. It was fine the whole time. However, like I said, I'm not going to tell you not to take your med. I do feel on holistic things such as this, music, and such can for some of us be better. Some people are med resistant, but yes. And it was a perfect example of pausing, even doing something like this, which I've been rambling for quite a while now. I don't think my shadow's been seen noticing that much. And placing a phone call was a good idea because I found out two interesting things. One, that this individual did take their med this morning, but forgot to last night. So, and I did notice when I was looking a little bit of twitching, but it didn't last very long. And it is type of epilepsy that often happens in sleep. And it didn't. But I don't know, maybe he still had some in his system or other product that he uses, or I don't know. So it was good to know that he took it this morning, though, especially on a gloomy day, because that might, slower at work, and it might just make you feel like you need to more. Now, before I start, speaking of feeling like need to, I'm just going to very quickly look at something in the other room, because I might be looking at something. And I can tell how much making connection meant to her, and how much needing healing, needing non-judgment, and somebody there to listen, offer support, and be able to do the same for. It's important. So as I look outside, I see that it looks like it's still raining, but I also see that the sun is trying to peek through. And I've been in this kind of dark room for quite a while now, doing this, and I would like to get back downstairs and do something else. And although there hasn't been a whole lot of activity, which is not exactly motivating, I'm going to do what I set out to do now. And I guess it's true. Regardless of how it does this time, I might do it again later. Today or this week or whatever. And maybe without all this other stuff. But I think that there was important things in this other stuff. So, that's what I feel. Maybe you agree. Now, I don't necessarily, and I apologize if people have noticed this and not liked it, I don't want necessarily to sound like I'm just walking around the room, moving back and forth. Welcome. I was kind of, but now I'm going to sit to do this next practice with you. And like I say, I will show myself on camera afterwards. Briefly. Since it's a bit more light coming in this room, I might be a bit more noticed. I'm just curious what it would look like on camera to change the view a little bit. I do think that mirror is going to be a bit distracting behind me. I suppose I could take it down. I'm also going to do something else because this is gotten kind of... I don't know. Do I know? I'll be right back and we'll get started. With this last part of the exercise, which was honestly the only part I had intended to do. But here we go. Now, because in our home, we don't mind and we're pretty scent friendly. I don't really wear my shirt right off, but and that's, yeah. I am going to, I don't think the dog minds either. And my ability to light an incense is probably not great. Now this is about to get even less vanilla. I have a type of cologne stuff here that is called Vanilla Fields. I wasn't aware that vanilla grew in fields, but I don't know everything. And I'm going to really experience the aromatherapy, which may or may not fit with the examples in this pre-written thing, but because that's something that, you know, it's weird because I can be sensitive to some things, in some cases hypersensitive. A lot of us are, though. But this kind of stuff, maybe if I overdo it too much, I would be, but it seems to be soothing more than anything for me. So, if it doesn't work for you, Again, you can picture a aroma or whatever. This touches on some of that, so I'm just going to hop into it. I am going to let myself sit and breathe for a few moments, though, because, like I say, this had an intro and a couple other things, and as I said, I did want to make sure that this was. I wasn't trying that hard to make sure, but that this was something that could be accessible and easy for those who either never have tried meditating or are unsure if they would do well at it or whatever. So don't try not to judge yourself, but and yeah, I think that, and I'm noticing when I'm not talking and when I'm talking, those green dots are moving a little bit. So I think it's hearing me. The music actually isn't even moving. Very tempted to do that other part because I'm bored of this real quick. I don't want to stretch it too much. So. Oh. And sometimes, I mean, I don't know, people might think, well, people look in the mirror all the time. What's the problem? When you're struggling with mental health and you don't have like employment and you're not in school or whatever, and you're just hanging around the house or whatever, or, doing quick errands or whatever, you might not. And I relate to that sometimes. And even if you do, it could be a mixed thing. So I understand that. I'm still warm. I'm putting this on. Hopefully it'll be okay. And now I'm going to truly. I did mention I have ADHD, right? No, but it's been various things, right? Now, the only other thing I feel like I might want to do, I don't want to move this too close to me or the speaker. Don't want to put it on the ground. I also have to be mindful. 25%. Okay, better get to this quickly. I was just thinking I might want to put on socks. That's the other thing, though, about seeing me during. I'm going to put this back up. Good. That's the other thing, is that it may be distracting, especially when someone isn't familiar with some people. They might be, even though it is just a video, they might be a little bit more like, I want to, since he's showing himself, I want to like be processing who's speaking. Which is a distraction. It may also be distracting for some people that, you can't see me. So it's too bad there's been nobody here while you have been able to, because, well, you would have been able to. But I'm going to go back to this view for now. Some of you have seen me in previous videos, so there's that. But this really isn't all about me. Somewhat, but not all. Now, the dog's not used to me playing music in here and talking over it and being in here for so long and doing this. So that's the other reason. Aside from getting it done, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I think that there's been some good stuff within it, but I still feel like we haven't actually gotten to the actual process, which is not only what I set out to do, but probably going to be especially beneficial. And then, yeah. So, I hope. So, I'm going to do that now. Because I would also like to see this video do better. I want to also speak about two other things before I start, though, because I'm noticing them a little bit for myself, which might mean that you might as well. And those two things are, if you're feeling any pain physically or emotionally, again, this is where focused breath can help. And I welcome you to breathe into it and breathe it out for this moment. What was the other thing? I don't know. I thought I did, but I don't. Other than the fact that I just put socks on thinking I was going to leave the AC on, and then being a little bit worried that you won't be able to hear me over it, and even talking at a fairly decent volume, and just, yeah. But there was something else. I guess, again, for anybody that watches this far or skips to this part, and obviously when I remember, you can still put your comment in there. Maybe to have a beverage handy. Use the washroom if you need to quickly. You can pause this if you're catching it afterwards. Or I think you can, yeah. I was going to say put your device away, but you're using it to play this, so don't do that. Maybe just mute it. I should have thought. Again, these things are obvious but easy to forget sometimes. So, mute it. Make sure that you do have the time. Don't think, oh, I got to be doing something. If you really do, you'll know it. If you think it can wait, it probably can. And I'm happy to have you here. Now, I do wonder if there's one other reason why this hasn't been, super duper successful at the moment. It's because I am in view of the screen. So if a comment comes in, I'm going to want to see it, but I'm going to just tell myself I can see it afterwards. Starting from your feet. Noticing your feet connected to the ground helps to feel settled and grounded. And if you're wearing shoes, notice the shoes on your feet. And really allowing all your awareness as much as possible to your feet. Whatever the other thing was I was going to say, I don't remember, so that's fine. Moving up your body, just bring your awareness to your legs. Really allowing your attention to focus on that area. And then to your torso. Noticing your clothing on your body. I made a little side note. If you're wearing any, don't mind my humor. Begin to notice the subtleties of your clothing, perhaps, if that's comfortable for you, as you're breathing. Simply becoming aware of your body right here, right now, as we begin the imagery of a calm place. Although you're already here. Maybe. It's after. Or now. I'd like you to bring your mind to a place you have either been or would like to go that represents somewhere peaceful and very calm. I'm going to add to that for a moment, though. I'm going to try something really quite powerful for myself for the moment, not that this hasn't been. And I don't know what this is setting myself up for. I really don't. I'm hoping for isn't what I'm hoping it to be, then it will be hard, whether I've done this exercise or not. But hopefully it will be as I want it to be. So as I look outside and see that the sun is coming out even more, the rain has gotten lighter, although there's quite a bit of tree, to look at the place that brings you happiness. I'm going to do that, and I welcome you to do that. If that's the comfort of your home, enjoy it. If you're at home and it's not the comfort of your home, oh, that was the other thing I was going to say. Obviously, not if you're operating machinery, blah, blah, driving. Again, this should be obvious. However, if anybody just happens to have been like, this was really hard for me to sit through, but I decided to, or I skipped ahead a bit because, heaven forbid, or lack of a different phrase, because you just so happen to have lost somebody who really felt the need to meditate and did so in unsafe conditions, such as driving. First of all, as somebody comes in, if that's you, this will apply. If it's not, it won't, and I will show myself after this, but they left. I am sorry for the loss. My dad did not necessarily die that exact way, but similar. And it's, I applaud your strength for being here, and I hope that you continue to have such. I'm so excited to do this. Again, with the mindset that people may tune in at different points and afterwards, I'll do this anyway, even though it's indicating no one else is here. That was the other thing I thought maybe I to cover the screen because I'd be distracted, but it's fine. Maybe people don't. Yeah, anyway. Now I'm going to do something that I had not really intended to do, although an element of it, I guess I did. And depending on what I see, I may or may not get interrupted from the rest of this process. Or distracted. But I'm going to try and focus, and I'm just going to put it this way, in this vague sort of way, that as I look out the window, I'm envisioning a place that makes me feel happy, peaceful, and calm, and I hope that you're able to do similar. And if you need to close your eyes to do so, do so. And if you need to pause this to think of a place, because I truly am intending to give you the opportunity to do so, and not just steamroll over it, because sometimes you can still get the benefits from something like this, but it might be missing something if you haven't thought of something specific for yourself. So I do invite you to pause this if need be once you're watching this. And I look outside. And I think, as I see a car pull into a lane, take a parking spot on the opposite side of his car in a big white vehicle. And I think, I don't need to drive. I don't need to be a driver to get to this place. I don't even have to walk all that far to get to my happy place outside of my home. To get to a place where I know that whether I'm playing this out, parts of it or all of it, whether I am doing different meditations, that very possibly when it's open, it's open, when it's closed, it's closed, and I have a beautiful backyard. If I'm out there often enough, it's then that'll be good enough. But where I can lead things like meditation groups, sing-alongs, group therapy sessions. So someone the other day that had a relative connection and knew someone else kind of behind our place, but that they're practically across the street from us. Is there a similar but slightly different connection that I will soon be able to make if I can get grants and make the connections that would be helpful and not lose hope? We're at 16%, but I want to at least do this next portion while looking in there, and then I'm going to out there. I can just envision it, but I'd rather look at it. I don't know with this device though if it dies if it will still post, and I'm getting kind of worried. But this is just a quick paragraph. I'm going to read it as is, and then I can go where I want with it. Oftentimes people pick a place in nature like a river, an ocean, a hiking trail, a lake, a mountain, somewhere that you would either like to go or that you have been that feels settling and calming. I think all of us have been on a trail or by a river at some point. And when this place is clear in your mind, in your mind's eye, I'd like you to look at your five senses. First, look around this place and see the landscape, the colors, perhaps lush green, colorful flowers, blue skies, the texture of the ground, of the foliage, of the different houses and how they look. Perhaps what you're envisioning would require some sprucing up for whatever reason. Sorry. Just a moment here. Then there's this, I haven't seen that in a while, this text thingy that even before the entrance screen, and it was all like red scribbles. Maybe that's to represent for me and for you with what you're envisioning, how you used to feel, how you used to experience your reality. Chaotic, frustrating, angry. But perhaps that will not be the case much longer for you. Now, as I plug in my device and switch locations, that works, I guess. Is it the paper? So I can see if comments come in, but not if people come in for a few seconds or whatever it is. It's the second setting, otherwise it's on. Okay. Oh, I almost put a chair down on my foot. I don't know if you can hear the music. I'm in here. That water when I started visiting. I guess it's been a while. So, even though I'm now facing actually an area that makes me think of something of my past that actually came up in a video the other day too, and I am fine with it being in the past because I am looking towards the future. I was watching a meditation video earlier today, actually, and he said the music will keep playing as you focus on such and such, or as you relax, after doing this process. And I said, I hadn't even noticed it. And normally I would. I don't think it was very loud. Now, regardless of how I choose to represent in this place that I'm envisioning, regardless of, what intent how do I put it? I hope to come across with, I know that my intent is pure, that it is care and love, that it is really wanting to see if people are tuning in to help keep me motivated. That it is, reminding myself that there are many ways which I could which I could present myself that will be favored, appreciated by others, that will show my heart and my skill, while also showing that I'm not above anybody, even if in some ways maybe I am a little. That I treat people as equal, that I allow them to be themselves, and no matter how comfortable I may get with the people that I'm associating with, I know that I must operate out of what's most comfortable for me first, and the rest will follow. What I want to show the world, what you want to show the world, and what you choose to keep private. I will show myself at the end of this practice, or about partway through, and the person left. Anyway, I understand, although they were only here for a couple seconds, although even that, I understand, and so one person that's watching, or one or two people that are watching this, maybe watching this later that know me, will possibly realize what I'm referring to, but I will say to them, one, don't assume, Two, you don't have to be as super specific about it here, because it is true that in a way, I have a specific, that's weird. I think I'm seeing the other side of the paper, the print. I was wondering what that mark was. That seems to be a bit better, I think, from what I'm seeing of the screen, partially covered. But I did have something specific coming to my mind, which I may not share, but that's okay. Because I know what it means to me, and that's good enough. Maybe it means something to you. I'd be curious if you have a guess as to what I might be referring to myself. Whether you're familiar with me or not, but I'm also curious what it may have meant for you. Now, you're tuned in where you're meant to tune in. I will be speaking for about another 50. Okay. Anyway, another 15 minutes, just for your knowledge. Probably about 15 minutes, not much more. I'm tired, and believe it or not, I am trying to follow a script, but I know that I'm not that way, and maybe you aren't either. I mean, I can, but whether it's the memorizing, I'm not as young as I used to be. Yes, maybe that's a limit, but also location of viewers, my age. Seriously, you cannot put limits on yourself. Sometimes society will, though. And that's unfortunate. And it's sad. But you keep pushing through. Because, as I've mentioned a couple of times in this channel, in the past few months, and one kind of got to the second step, I would say. Not that I have a bunch of steps mapped out or anything, but, first you meet someone, then maybe you decide to connect with them, in different ways, and then you enjoy it, is, I guess, kind of what I'm referring to. So the second step has happened. Even though sometimes it's a bit touch and go with the one person, because she is very ingrained with some of her thinking styles, and I'm not trying to be mean to her. At the same time, she is pretty good at seeing other perspectives. She is pretty good at quickly sensing an individual and knowing what's in their heart and what they're trying for. But not everybody has the same access and capabilities as other people, but that does not mean that you can't find something that you're good at. I think I will chapter this later, because if I do utilize this in a different settings, I might want to jump to different sections. I also want to look at the I Am in Grief playlist. And it'd be interesting to title. I like titling things. I was thinking about it the other day, how I used to, I guess, for each subject or thing we were doing in a subject, occasionally we'd have to build title pages at school. Does anybody else remember doing that? And I actually enjoyed it because they were artsy and creative. I mean, some of them weren't very good, but mine. It was interesting to see others. I don't remember any that stand out, but it was interesting to see others' creativity as well. Notice if the sun is shining, and it is a bit here, more than it was, which is kind of cool. In fact, it was very interesting. I was at a group the other day, and I don't remember what the lady was saying. She was talking about her dad and horses, and there was so many times I wanted to give her a hug. And I did get to before I left, and I was surprised others didn't. But I guess nobody wanted to be awkward. They weren't that familiar with each other. They didn't want to step out of line and get in trouble, maybe. But if I operate this space that I'm envisioning operating, what I would probably do is, if at any time you feel like somebody looks like they need a hug, ask them first. If they say no, maybe challenge them out of their comfort zone a little bit and just say, not to disrespect that, and I'm not gonna force it on you, but I'm curious. Why not? I mean, if somebody said that they just didn't grow up around a bunch of huggers, they just, that doesn't mean that they can't let it be something for them now, because it is very healing. Whether you formed a connection with somebody online and you finally get to meet them and you want to make a bit of physical contact other than a fist pump or a handshake, or it is. Sometimes we go through a lot of pain in life. And sometimes it resurfaces for us. And there are studies about how hugs are comforting and how they, in the last track, how they, the power that they hold, literally. And it's different depending on, I guess, who's giving it, regardless of whether you know them well or not, and the context. And I think we should all be open to them occasionally. So I would say ask first, but I want this to be a space where if people feel like they need to be someone to hold their hand or give them an embrace, they can. I want it to be a space where they are open to making friendships, but remembering to pace it. Make sure that it's always feeling natural and comfortable. Because sometimes a connection will unfold pretty quickly, and you will feel pretty comfortable pretty quickly. You may or may not ask yourself, is this making sense? Should I be feeling this or And sure, sometimes maybe somebody's feeling it because of a deep-rooted need that they have. That's fine. Now, as I start to feel like, Matt, can't remember, can't remember why. Now bring your awareness to sounds you would hear. I was kind of pausing, thinking internally for a moment there and resting for a moment. My throat's starting to feel a little bit itchy, but the things I do for the people that aren't even here right now. And for myself, and for those that might be here later. Part of me wants to go downstairs and get a cold water because that might be good for my throat, or more coffee. But it's 11 o'clock. I should be done this in the next 20 minutes. It's still before noon, so I'd be okay having coffee. Not too close to my beauty rest. Wait till you see my beauty. Just kidding. 22%. Okay. The device. So, the sounds that you hear close up, and any sounds you hear in the distance. Really taking in any of the calming and soothing sounds that are in this place. taking a moment. The place that I have in mind, which I actually do, I think, when I get like this sometimes, and, sometimes things still don't pan out, but let's hope. Let's hope. Because I'll just say this. My 20s were good. My childhood was decent, aside from losing my dad and, maybe some other things, but that happened. But my 30s, although there has been goodness, and I don't want to say there hasn't because that would be lying, there has been a lot of stuck feelings. There has been a lot of not getting momentum like I'd like. And I've never been somebody who could inflict physical harm on myself. When I was younger, I used to every now and then punch the side of my head. A lot of kids, teens, do that when they're frustrated. Or maybe even their chest. But anything beyond that, I've never, I've maybe thought, and I mean, personally, and again, if this is something you're going through, not that anybody's watching right now, if you're self-harming but keep planning to keep yourself alive, that means there's a part of you that wants to be. Come to think of it for a moment here. And I wish that you get help for that. That is not something I might be able to help with. I mean, if you know why you're doing it, maybe we can address that. But the act of actually doing it and getting you to stop would have to come from another person. Whether it's a loved one, which might not even know you're doing it, or self-medicating even is another way, or it's I don't want to say a trusted professional. I do, but at the same time, still not everybody's going to be a fit for everybody. And even people who do not have degrees are sometimes very capable of saying and doing the right things for someone and transforming their lives. So, but the environment that I envision would have moments of peacefulness, but also moments of laughter, communication in the form of connection, music, relaxation. Someone was to say you have no limits, they might be actually saying don't give up. You got this. Then notice any scents that are in this place. I don't know if I can envision that. As long as it doesn't stink, I'm good. If you're at the beach, just notice that the notifications of this are turned on. If you're at the beach, I almost want to call her, bring her into this because I think she could benefit from it. But she doesn't even know that I mean, we've talked about it. So I'm just briefly distracted because this has been so damn quiet. And I don't have a number for her. But she totally seemed to be happy to take mine. Maybe she wasn't trying not to be rude, but I think she thought, oh, maybe I'll call this guy sometimes. I'm just thinking about someone I, like I say, more closely connected with the other day. She gave her full name, although there's two parts of the last name, but I found her with the one. I don't actually see a call option, I guess because she's not in my list and hasn't connected with me yet. And I didn't see a friend option, just a message option. Okay, so that takes care of that. And, I've been involved in agencies before where, people like to make connections, but, if you tell somebody there, oh, well, they shared this with me. Okay, well, that's good. All the best, but, they won't be willing to share further information, which is something, because I know that isolation can be hard and connection is important. Something else that I've learned in my journey and the frustrations that I've sometimes had or noticed other people having, I would, whether I have a front desk staff or just myself, probably to start out with, I would say, if you'd like, I can ask them. Hopefully the person wouldn't be uncomfortable just simply being asked. If you'd like, I can ask them if they'd be open to that. At least fellow participants at the place. I think a lot of times they make it known to each other, but sometimes it's kind of an afterthought and then you don't see them for a week or whatever. So I don't know how often this place would be open, but more than once a week, probably. Most of the days, probably. Maybe weekends a little bit. Now I'm not going to worry about the mice. But you know what? I don't think they hate me. It was the adults. And I thought that he was one. Anyway. As far as, so I would say, so-and-so has asked if you would be comfortable with me sharing your number with them. Would you? And then if they have an answer in the moment, great. If they say, can I get back to you on that? Great. And then I don't go after them on it. And then because I'm such a thoughtful person, I would probably say, okay, so I have asked, here it is, or I have asked, and they need to think about it. I mean, and then I would say, I wish you good communication with each other, empathy with each other, forgiveness if you ever can, if you need to, and if you ever feel the need to and you can. But you know what? Whether something like that was done or it was something that happened when they saw each other at the place, people go through times where they will transition out of things or different, But we're all trying to have a good human experience, and we should be trying to make the same for others. I know it's almost 2 hours long. It's got one light, but I'll spread the word. If you're at the ocean or something like that, you may smell the salt water. I probably wouldn't, unless I was like in it, maybe. But I don't know. The sea air, lotion, good food, maybe. Take a moment to take in any of these scents that are in this area, in this place. And I can only hope, even though I'm in a different room now, the place I'm envisioning will not just be a vision, but it will become reality. Again, that I will figure out the grants, I will get the help that is needed, I will find out what I need to find out. But sometimes thinking this deeply about something, even if it's not real, and just being able to listen to it back, even when you can't tell it to yourself in the moment, until it's the case, or when it's not the case yet, I think could potentially be helpful in a way that I've never really looked at manifesting. Now I'd like you to take a moment and imagine this place, what it would feel like. I'm going to say to your body, if you're in the sunlight, if feeling a cool breeze because you have exposed skin and you're standing in the breeze or by a fan. That actually is the back. Darn it. Take a moment to really imagine what it would be like to be in this place. I said, imagine if you made a video, what would you say? You know, and then I said I might do this because we couldn't use it later because I want to. To be in this place. I'd like you to just take another moment to absorb anything else that feels particularly soothing coming about this place. And just as I switch to the latter part of this, but you're meant to tune in where you're meant to tune in, so it's all good. We get somebody tuning in. I'm so happy you're here. Some of this has been quite quiet, and you left. You're like, I didn't come here to be mentioned, though. I'll tell you that much. And since nobody else, well, actually, then again, YouTube sometimes does this thing where it'll show like someone that looks like they've left, but they're actually still here. I don't know what's up with that. And either that's the case or they're back. I want to also speak to the viewers about naysayers. Be fully or partially, let them be fully or partially in the background. Your struggles are getting you closer to your successes and your wins. That is my hope for you. It's what you are very likely deserving of and have been trying and perhaps even praying for it. But if that person did in fact leave, like the indicator said, without even liking that kindness, screw you. I'm just kidding. Maybe it felt weird to hear it from a stranger. Looks like I've had this paper for a couple of weeks now. It's only been a day and a half. Actually, about a day's worth. Well, no, because a lot of that I was sleeping. It was like late afternoon yesterday, and it's not even noon yet today, but it's close. So now I'm going to do something again for myself because, you know, as much as I hope that this has some positive impacts on other people, I think this is an example. And I got encouragement right at the top there briefly, but I think this is an example. And it was from somebody, but maybe it was also kind of spirit-led, of that I'm doing this for myself as well. You know, it's not all about me. Anybody that posts on YouTube would probably say, you know, even if they're looking to get lots from it, it's not about them entirely. It's about the viewer's experience. And I do obviously agree with that. But since this has been fairly quiet, much of it, and personally or not, some people that occasionally have been there haven't stuck around. It may have been counted later. It may tell me there was 3 views, but I'm sure I've seen it at least 7 or 8 times. But maybe that's the same person. Came back for a little bit, and they want to be here, and somebody else just tuned in now. But you know, things happen. But anyway, I'm so glad that you're here. I have intended, and relapse, whatever. Now, this next part, for anybody that does see this part, I would like to ask that you watch it if you are open-minded and you're okay with diversity and you are okay with feeling your own feelings and other people feeling theirs, and you're fairly comfortable in yourself and letting other people just be. It was distracting me. And now it's right in front of me. And some of you may have the ability to do what I'm about to do next. Some of you may not yet. And some of you can access people like me who do. I'm also being a bit distracted by that round thing that looks like it's sitting on the top of my head, but it's taped to the wall and there's not a whole lot I can do about it, other than maybe this, if that's better. And I'm going to show a bit more now. Maybe. Maybe not. And maybe I'm not meant to. Maybe I'm just meant to know that in my heart, what is. And I was going to do a song called Look for the Good. Hopefully you've seen the good in this. I don't know if I have much energy to do it at this point. Maybe later today because it's still early. But I am feeling somewhat spirit-led. I don't know if Linda's here or which of my lovely angels and possibly yours, but I'm feeling spirit-led in noticing that I've surrounded myself almost with mirrors. There's this one on the closet door. There's this one, which I just put here. Again, with an open mind and heart. It really isn't that hard to have. If you're here, which nobody is at the moment that I can see, but you're meant to be. And hopefully you will accept it. I want to record this for myself to look back at. And again, in case it helps somebody else. I don't know what's about to transpire. I have a rough idea, I guess. And I don't do this very often. I'm more comfortable seeing myself on this screen. I saw myself smile. Someone was saying the other day I think she was trying to say she feels numb. She says I don't usually get super happy or excited, which is weird because she seems upbeat, but she also said she's very quiet at home a lot of the times around her family. But where she feels like she's in a safe space where she's not going to stress out or burden anybody or make anybody worry. I do and don't see that, yeah, she opens up a bit. Or people that she's not super familiar with yet, you know. And that's probably pretty common, and I haven't said her name. And I do experience moments of happiness. I also feel depressed fairly often, or annoyed. I don't want to say annoyed, frustrated, which isn't much different, but stuck. And I'm looking at a mirror right now. And like I say, for some people, doing so would be very hard. They feel a lot of angst, disappointment, such and such in themselves. But I want you to know that very likely you were not to blame for the pains and the things that you went through. The universe, uncaring and unempathetic people, people who are just living for themselves more than living for themselves and the greater good, brought you down. Now, what I'm noticing is I am talking to myself when I'm doing this, but I'm waiting to get really creeped out and like really see my dad. If this was like 5 or 10 years later and I had gray hair, I mean, I'm starting to gray. I am. So, like in 5 years, because I'm late 30s, I very well could be gray haired. My dad would be. When he was alive, he had dark hair, but he would be. And I certainly would think, is that me? Like, I mean, when your age starts to change you that way, whether you spend a lot of time looking or not, it's like when you do look, you're like, I don't think that's me. I'm not used to this. Sometimes it's a new haircut, whatever it is. I'm tempted to do something else, but I don't really want to necessarily film it. I don't really have the energy to do it. And it wouldn't be the first time I've done it. And I can envision it well enough. And I can look in this mirror again and say that regardless, even though I often feel like the world doesn't notice it, online or off, although offline they have less choice in the matter perhaps. So if they engage with me, they usually do notice it. And perhaps you can relate. When you feel seen and heard and accepted and respected, you come out and you're shining. Unfortunately, for some of us, we don't get the opportunities as often, or it just doesn't happen as often. But I would say to any of those cars parked at that nearby business that might be hearing this, whether you think you know what you're hearing or not, I thank you for not going to extremes. But know that you took somebody's sense of community. This is God speaking. And although they've gotten used to it, they haven't quite bounced back even after all this time. Maybe a little bit. It'd be really creepy for someone else standing there. But they haven't quite bounced back. What I would say to you is you may know a lot of people that pass through your place in passing or very brief interactions. So you get a vibe. Get to know them deeper. It's great that you help them with something so necessary as food. Window is open. But, and there are other resources, but ask them, how are they doing accessing them? Are they feeling helped? And if not, what can you do? I know everybody's safety is important, but when you truly know somebody, more than just in passing, you will know whether it's a threat or not. Their presence. It may have been one of the very few good things they had in their life. A life which has shown them heartache, loved ones passing away, disability, mental health struggles. I know you have empathy. Not being able to fit in the mainstream, although being a completely likable person who just doesn't have a degree, who just does not have sometimes accessibility, easy to get to things, who has a dad and other loved ones who with so much love for this person, who have so much love for this person, and if they were alive, this person's life would be so much better in some ways. Not only because they are alive, but because they can help them achieve their goals. So, this person's angels are putting a couple people perhaps in their life, but it took quite a bit of time, and it's ebbed and flowed. And I don't remember the difference between the two, but the one that's been a struggle has been a bit more than the one that hasn't been. I don't see anybody standing up there, but I could be just not seeing. Maybe they'll see this anyway. I'm thinking of a situation, and I'm thinking of when somebody, it was around Easter, and I'm slightly surprised because they are not, I don't want to be misunderstood by sharing this, but they are religious. They are somebody who likely has a lot of a certain demographic, more than one, but one particular demographic in their life. And it is that day, but it's 11:34. So regardless of who you think this is, I just want you to know that I really am thankful for your approach. And maybe, if this isn't heard and it's not heard here, maybe, even though they're religious, maybe one of their loved ones will say it to them in some sort of message. And maybe I tried to, but in the moment it was hard. The fact that you didn't just jump right into it to get it over with, but you showed human kindness. We're saying, how was your Easter? I hope you had a good Easter. I'm really sorry to do this, to say this. But unfortunately, we can't have you coming back in here. And I understand how that may sound to some. But it was a misunderstanding, and it was taken, out of it didn't need to happen. I understand why they feel it did. And again, it was weird because it was a place that I used to go to a couple times a week, almost every week, as part of my routine. But still, the staff, the ones that got to decide, they only knew me to see me every week. They didn't really know me closely. And I honestly don't know who was most uncomfortable, but I think I do. Certain one or two individuals, or the others that became aware of something, and then there became too many cooks in the kitchen. So where that person may have said, you know what, we just have to, make sure that kind of thing doesn't happen here. Because if it does, That could mean different things to whoever hears it. But, then they'd find out that it wouldn't have. I mean, it was a little bit odd because Rick was there, but I guess they thought that you were wrong with that letter thing, but that was simply to apologize. And I think she realized that too, but she was told by whoever she was told. Well, she was the leader. She had the option to make the decision, I suppose. But I think maybe they took a vote. I don't know. Again, based on not really knowing me very deeply. And it's not something that bothers me hugely these days, but when I think about it, it does. And maybe they all kind of thought, yeah, no, I think this is a decision. And maybe they were wanting to respect each other's decisions, because I was involved at an agency once. This was another stupid thing that happened in my journey. So I was supposed to arrive at a certain time, and it could be seen as a detox place, although I wasn't really going there to detox. It could be seen as a treatment center. Definitely wasn't a rehab. But it was something where, you're supposed to be there to serve. And I'm sure other times something, fairly similar probably happened and it had been fine. And it wasn't like it was the end of the freaking world either. Basically, and it did work out. I later found out something which made me kind of grateful that it happened this way. But it wasn't, I don't remember why I was seeking to access it at that time, but it was annoying. So basically, I came in, or no, I let them know I was there. They said, okay, you're early, just set up front. I said, okay. And then there was also some people that lived in the building. It had an apartment as well. And two of the suites had been renovated for this. And basically, it was like 2 or 3 minutes to by my clock, which turned out to be fast. And 2 people went in, so I came in with them. And I said, okay, I've gotten in the building with somebody. Shall I come down the hall? And the person I was talking to was an immature staff person who I saw not that much longer afterwards. I'm surprised I went back, but I'm glad that I did, even though I don't remember a lot of the details, because then the pandemic came along. And then after that, I just never really did. Because, well, then the other person in the house's epilepsy started to get worse, and my tinnitus, so I required the sleeping tracks. And we got a dog, and I didn't want, the dog to be worrying, where am I? Because I would be not spending the nights here and not spending much of the days either, and he's used to it. I mean, maybe when he was just young, I could have gotten away with it, but there were other reasons. Anyway, point of the matter is she, I guess she wanted a sense of control. So she said to her coworker, who I really feel wouldn't have done it this way, I really feel like wouldn't have, she said, I don't think we should let him come in for now, because, he's not following the timeline that we essentially put out, and so, it was kind of another one of those examples of, okay, they felt that was the way to do it, so that's what they did. And it's not necessarily been a great thing for me. And it's interesting that I look out the window and see a certain something, which I do still hold hope is a great thing for me. And I might do that next. With the sun shining, maybe at 1 o'clock, because then I can use some symbology and say, this is the one. This is the thing that I'm needing to do right now in my life. And it's going to be so impactful for me and for others. And yes, maybe you guys don't fit, but I have control of that. And I know that I operate out of empathy. I don't just get a little uncomfortable and say, you know what, we have to ban you from this place. Not to say that I never would, but I would do it with kindness as well. Because there would be a part of me that wouldn't want to do that, even if most of me felt like I needed to. And if it's not this place, I hope it's something else close by, and I'm hoping that it happens soon. Because it's interesting, even though I haven't been repeating it as much as a certain someone may have been wanting me to, we did kind of outline some of my other areas of interest and hopes. I can't remember, but I think one of the very first ones in our sessions, and then there's been a few since, well, there's going to be more, and I might just be connection, which is fine. But has kind of been about this, but with no real idea as to connecting it to a place specifically. I mean, specifically, but I remember she likes to start the sessions with, what are some celebrations from the week? And sometimes I struggle to think of them, or they're small things. Thankfully, she accepts that. But the one week I did say, well, it looks like our neighbors, or it looks like somebody on our street who things were a little bit uncomfortable and awkward about have moved out. Because as I'm out and about on our street, I'm noticing that they've filled a pickup truck, and then they filled a U-Haul a couple times, and then it's been pretty darn quiet around there since then. Even when they were there, even though they didn't necessarily give the vibe that they would be, they were fairly quiet people on the street. They didn't, not that it would have been the end of the world necessarily, unless it was like all the time, every hour or whatever, but they didn't drive up with blaring, annoying music. And I mean, we're very musical, and I'm also fairly open-minded, I especially. Not that the other person in the house isn't, but I'm a bit more tolerant to some things. Surprised sometimes when he talks about rap that he doesn't say certain things. That's not going to say that I think all of it's okay. I'm not saying that. But no, they came and went often, but they really, and if by chance the people seeing this think that I'm talking about them, and they recognize me, you know what? I guess I'll say this. Even though you were wrong about, some things, and even though there may have been some difficulties, I'm saying something for a moment specifically to somebody, but anyway, you, I mostly wish you the best where you have moved on to. And I hope that you can do the same for me. And I hope that you can just let it be, for me, if it's meant to be. Now, I'm back up here. There's something kind of interesting about the fact that I have coffee here, and that just the other day I was thinking about a coworker of mine. I don't even know what transpired the thought. I mean, usually I notice in the moment. Doesn't mean I would remember, but honestly and truly, I don't think much did. I think I was just thinking of my loved ones in heaven in general, and how I haven't heard from some of them in a while. Chapstick. And I do want to wrap this up soon, but some videos are on the longer side of things, on here. But But then they have to read through it. Like, all his? I don't know what you mean. Anyway. And I am kind of feeling the energy of my friend and former friend and co-worker, Marianne. Ironically, actually, it didn't even connect it earlier when I was thinking of a different Marianne. She's like, is it weird to cheers with coffee? Cheers, my friend. I'm glad that you realize I'm here. I want to applaud you for continuing, as we all do here, for continuing to do this because you know how much you need it and how much other people need it, even if they aren't here showing it right now. You know that you have made some recent new subscribers who seem to like you and are curious about your content. And I hope that you have a great connection with them for a long, long time. We all do. And that maybe you'll be able to check out their content as well if they have any. We know that it would be your intent. She says, you know what, my friend? I always got a good sense from you. I always did feel comfortable about you. And I liked people, usually, she said. I liked people when I was alive. I still don't mind most of them. She says, and we all want times to ourselves and alone time. So there were probably times on the bus or whatever where we didn't talk to each other. But she says, as I've told you before, the times where I felt like I or you might appreciate someone to talk to and we visited with each other after work or the occasional time on the way, I think. She says, I still really appreciate that. Even if I don't remember a lot of the specifics, and you probably don't either. She says, I really did appreciate that. And this is very interesting. I feel her lightly pushing on my head in spirit. And it's like, I know you can only see yourself in the mirror and on the screen, and others can only see you. But she says, I don't know if you'd be surprised to hear this or not, but she says, and she's not the only one, obviously, but she's actually kind of in tears right now. She says, I'm in tears for the pain that you feel. I'm in tears because I know what you're trying to do, even if it's taking a lot of effort and it's a slow go at times. She says, I would like to believe that you knowing those things and the fact that you have all of us here cheering you on, even if you weren't fully aware of it at the time. She says, I'm not going to do a happy dance on that thing, but she says, hey, what are you doing? that she's like, she's glad it helped, or seems to have. She says, my friend, even though there were things that kept us there aside from the money at times, we know the kind of jobs a call center are, She says, we made do. We made do in our own ways. But yeah, I've got to agree with you. Anytime that I'm able to watch over you And then what's her face? Her daughter's, yeah. Actually. So actually, I wonder if that might be, just quickly, sorry, because I was just distracted, because I have another name of a loved one. I'm wondering, yeah, but the ones that the ones that, the other ones, that was actually quite nice. I don't know if they would, I've made the initial point of contact. Definitely now that I have been registered for that thing, I do want to try and connect with her before October, and that was the last of the drop-ins. So if it's getting close to that, I might see, has she gotten in? She'd be able to help me get there. And, but, I want the connection now. But I gave her my phone number. I gave her my social media. I gave her my YouTube channel name. So, on a tag of an interesting thing. So, sure, when you detag something, although it was a thick tag, and, usually you're pretty quick out of habit just to get rid of it. But hopefully she'd realize that and be able to get it before it made it out to the bins. But it's interesting that she said that a certain person that worked there, it makes me think of a loved one who was a mentor of mine, is her daughter. So I could say, I think your mother would really appreciate it if you relayed this message to her. I know I would. And what would the message be? Well, I hope that she sees this. She may not come to the time. I don't know. I mean, I just hope she sees what else I sent her sometime soon. Even with disability, things are still hard sometimes, right? But, do I want to go out to a farm? I mean, there might still be stuff to do, but out to a farm in the winter, that's the other thing. Like, the seasons are going to be changing soon. And actually, October is a long time to wait. So do I want to give myself a certain date of which I'm patient? But then at some point, it's like, no, I want the connection to unfold more, and I don't want to wait till October. The fact that it's a certain festival happening right now, kind of, that, only goes for so long is partly. Anywho, so there has been a lot that has transpired. You can see what you, and you left, sorry. Let's see if there's something for sure that I want to get to that I know would be hard for me to get to otherwise. It's kind of let me do the planning. There is some nearby options, though I'm not too sure about the best because of food. I'm not sure about the food. But, and if so, I mean, my mother's not out of town yet, but that might be a reason. Not just for the ride, but to enjoy it together. Otherwise, some people sometimes need more than a couple of days' notice, though. And I know there would be something in the next week. Maybe I'll just ask to be transferred to the ad and then just say, I'm struggling to reach her, but I'd be curious if she'd like to do this with me. And then she could just get back to me. I sent her a message online, and but we aren't exactly actually connected there yet. And yeah. I just saw my dad kind of go past Mary Ann, tap her on the shoulder, and kind of give her a thank you. And then just say, sure, you may see yourself, but I know that you don't hate yourself. I know that you like a lot of things about you, which are very lovable. And I love him too. And I'm very proud, as are a lot of us up here. It's interesting, there is one picture I remember of my dad. I haven't seen a lot of them. He's actually riding on a horse, I believe. I wonder if my mother has that. And his hair is kind of doing a similar thing to what mine looks like it's doing. Like it's kind of ridged or whatever in the one corner. It's kind of like got a funny shape on one side. Where it's like you might see you, but regardless of where you look, where you are, and what you're doing, you know that we're all here for you. Sometimes you'll feel it at different strengths than others for various reasons, but you know that we are. So before you put that mirror back, yes, we do want you to, you know, appreciate the connections you already have, make lovely new ones, find happiness, enjoy nature, feel nurture. What are you, a poet, Dad? I didn't know that. Just kidding. Um, be accepted, and appreciated. You already make me very proud. The fact that you keep trying even when it's hard. But I will be so happy for you when the the goals that you are trying to achieve appear into your life with a greater consistency. Because you were born for great things. And I feel like he's told me that before. I don't know why, but for some reason that kind of rang familiar. Where's my hat? Oh, right. Just as you and try and encourage others to keep strong and keep going, and that they can get goodness in their life or appreciate the goodness they do have as well. You can. He says, I know it's very hard. Sometimes you don't know what you need to do, or you don't feel like you can do it. And sometimes maybe you can't. And as you said, when you face challenges or losses, it's really hard to accept that. Like you said the other day. And you start to feel like you shouldn't have to experience it so much. You know, you've got greatness, and you appreciate that, but you shouldn't have to experience it so much. The hardships. Now, I've felt my dad do this before. Nobody's here at the moment, and he does it to people that I kind of sometimes encounter in my life or have in my life that never knew him. And he's doing it on the internet right now, I feel like. You know, this is, I guess, something that I have in common with him. And I know that other people can be just as caring and empathic and kind to people, whether they're close with them or not. But for anybody that makes it to this point, and if not, then, you know, I know that I am being reminded of just what a great man my dad was. And hearing the radio joke about genes versus GENES. I do have his genes, and I'm proud to say it. And he died far too young. And although I've had lots of joy and I've tried very hard, Dad, you know how hard it's been without you. And he says, for anybody who might be thinking to say, pull it together, man, like grow up, or it's been all this time, like whatever. Have some compassion, because it could have been you. It may be you at some point, Nobody's saying that, but I'm just thinking nobody's not saying it either, But, some people don't need to be told that. They already realize that. My dad's unsure about asking me a question. But just want to make sure that people realize if they see this, like he was essentially what he was trying to get across is that he cares about you. Even though he doesn't know you, maybe from heaven he's noticed you occasionally. That's not meant to be scary, but he cares about you. That's weird that vehicle looks like it's behind her here, but parked the other way, and I can't get to the window. It's on the other side of the fence. It's sitting there in a unique way. Okay, that just moved. Okay, yeah. Well, it's sitting there as a car would be sitting in a lane. Just looking for symbology in that. And this friend who might be religious, she had said, she thought that maybe it was Simon Leslie's mother. It's time to get a horse again. Take your step. She says she's always looking for signs. So we do have that in common too. He says, you may realize that sometimes we can't always, but sometimes we do kind of discover someone and be around them for a bit, gently in the background to decide, is this someone we want to connect our loved ones to? And don't be mistaken. So, Nick, G, Sunny are souls that we're meant to have a connection with. And sometimes when it's new, you sometimes don't know what to think. But he says, you'll know. You'll know. And then Ray instantly came in, and she I feel like is saying that that she felt like that made me think something, and I kind of sensed it. It did. It made me think about the last time that she visited me, and she tried to comfort me and prepare me for something in a way. And I knew this was thought, but I would definitely do. And truthfully, none of us have all the answers. And so we didn't know. But she said, yeah, you got through it, eh? You got through it. You had a somewhat desired distraction just up the stairs and into the theater. And you wanted to be comfortable. And you weren't entirely sure if it was the person. And they maybe weren't entirely sure if it was you, because it had been a year or two. And you both ironically had different hairstyles. And basically, I'm just sharing a message from a friend. And then I can't go too much longer because I've been going for a while already. And you left, whatever. That's just letting you know I'm here. I just wanted to indicate you already believe this stuff. You already know, God, that I'm with you and I'm here. But I just wanted to let you know. Okay, we can just hit the like button too, because like we don't have tons of capabilities like that. But I'll just say how exactly your dad was kind of saying. Like there's somebody that I know. I tried to get them to check out your video just now. They came in for a second. They're like, "Why did I click this? I don't know if I want to watch this right now," and they left. But that was me that tried to get them to remind you that I'm here and that you know she says you want complete honesty. Okay, was less. He just wasn't here long enough to recognize you for sure. But it was him. Buddy, you know that he has been stuck at home on his breathing machine and hello, Anonymous. How are you? You're the Anonymous from Maxie's channel, right? And now there's a second person here. Welcome. Nice to see you. I think this might be the first time you're on the video. No, I don't know. It is. Okay, because for some reason I thought there was other words with Anonymous, with what you went by on there. Well, let me catch you up to speed and the other person at the corner there. Cool. So glad you're here. It's been a little quiet. Don't forget to like. You already have subscribed, I think. So what has transpired in this video? Just so that you know, you might want to watch the rest of it at a different time. I did a meditation that led to a visualizing myself opening up and operating a drop-in center for all ages, that has a focus on wellness, music, healing, which goes with wellness and music, friendship, and fun. I don't know if that music still applies that's playing in the background, but it was playing for that. I don't even know if you can hear it because it's in the other room. Also, elements of acceptance of self, of situations, of others has came up. And then you and whoever else is at the top watching have come in. I heard it really helps, but seriously, when I close my eyes, I just panic out of, Okay, so first of all, I have a random question because that was what was kind of most recently being talked about when you came in. Curious the viewer's thoughts on the afterlife. Now, as far as when you close your eyes, I really, it was the intent, and I've led a few of them, not often. Anytime I do, but especially with this one, the intent is for it to be, even though the video got long, but I'm being Matt today, where I'm just dreaming for like the endless stream that goes on forever, but not really. But because even he can't do that. This guy that I sometimes watch videos of. But for all levels, if we want to say that, if we want to say it's a level thing, but I found it very powerful. So hopefully when you go back and watch what transpired prior, you will as well, because I understand anxiety and other struggles and FOMO. I'm the homo that fears FOMO. In study and all. I don't know what you mean by in study. I think I do, but I'm not sure. So anything that I've said there, the question about the afterlife, I'll let you two kind of type. I'm going to stop that music because I'm actually used to using it when I'm sleeping. And I'm not sleeping and I'm not meditating right now, so it's more distracting than anything. Now, the person that I was just talking about prior to you coming in as well, Ed was a host of music stuff. And we know each other, you and I, through a mutual musician. So that's kind of ironic. I think I want to let you catch up to what a couple of the other things I've said. I'm actually a student. I know you did mention that. And I'm preparing for an exam to get into medical university. And the selection percentages are really low. I haven't been a student for a while, so I'm not sure. I understand that there is a selection process. I don't know what selection percentages are really low even means. I don't think it would literally be every second. It's just like when, I still wanted to say to Nick, you want to say, like, and I'm not saying last name or where I know her from. If she's the other person watching, I think she'd be saying so. But, when she said she just never feels excited or whatever anymore. I don't think that. And she's like, no. And I think like she tried to like justify it or tried to like make sure that we really realize that she didn't. Maybe most of the time she doesn't, but we all do. It was interesting when she said that she saw that lady's eyes light up when she was talking about the horses. And then she said that she saw the same feisty eyes in her that she was describing her mother being. But anyway, fear of missing out, fear of failing your courses is maybe what you mean if you slow down and don't like cram it all in. Well, you know what? There can be such a thing as overdoing it. And also, so are you at home right now? Are you, just out of curiosity, what kind of environment are you in right now? And do you have headphones? I'm glad that you built confidence. But, I will say this, though. Your journey is going to unfold as it's meant to, right? Okay, cool. I guess you have a busy home. Yeah, you probably do live with family at your age. Your journey is meant to unfold as it's meant to. So I do wish you the best with your studies and your career, because the medical field is an important field. But I honestly probably say that to most people. I'd say it to a stripper, for goodness sake. Just kidding. But got to earn a living, right? But at the same time, realize that if you don't succeed, there will be other things. One thing, I don't know about where you live, but I think it's kind of around the world. One thing that I do struggle with is the fact that so many places seem to require a degree. Oh, thank you. Seem to require a degree. And I think some things should. Anybody in the medical field, yeah, I was going to say I'd want them to know what they're doing, but again, I don't always feel like you have to have a degree to know what you're doing and to do it well. Like when I was in that meeting the other day, the videos they watched were interesting. I don't know why they had them on that wall. I guess maybe they thought the sun was going to shine too much on the lighter colored wall. I think she was trying to say something of that. I just have to change the fan's position here. But maybe turn it up. Oh, that's off. Okay, so it's only got two settings. That's weird. Anywho, she read the meditation that I don't think any of us could hear. But honestly, the two ladies sitting on especially the one, I couldn't really hear anything. She seemed like a really nice and gentle soul, but I just could not hear her. And we weren't that far. My hearing isn't that bad. She was just really soft-spoken. The leader wasn't, but when she read the meditation, so that's something that I paid attention to when I was doing it, was like being audible, you know. I also had the background music, but so yeah, I'd be very curious to know what you thought about how I did. Yes, I'm into psychology and the brain and human stuff. I mean, I don't understand how one could not be, because none of us has all the answers. We can have some of them, but none of us has all the answers. And if we're gonna sit and think, or so it's always this journey or whatever of trying to figure out life and others and ourselves, you know. And I had someone tell me the other day who is quite religious, or possibly quite religious, but not, I mean, but it was very small mention of it. I just hope that she's an accepting person, like she seems to be. But she said, that's what life's all about, is discovering yourself, and Well, as I said in the under Maxie's video, I think it was you that I said it to specifically. I said, it's about wellness, kind of like what I want my drop-in center to be: wellness, music, randomness, a little bit too, But yes, I am curious your thoughts about the afterlife, and there's something else that I don't know how I want to address it, so I'll just put it out as a question. Thoughts about jealousy, because I think a lot of us struggle with that, and there are different types. You can be jealous about different things to different levels. I'm at 67%. If I let myself slow down enough, I mean, I'm happy that you're here. A lot of this was quite quiet. I'm happy that you're here. We're having a nice conversation. And I hope that you'll be able to come check out the videos often. But, and it's good to take some time, some leisure time, like you say, cramming the books, you can overdo it. Yeah. Yeah. And at first I had to read that a second time. I have the ability, I have the schedule for the most part to do that, for better or for worse. But that's interesting, because again, it ties into the question of the afterlife, and it ties it, and then you might be like, what, how, why? But I'll let you answer those two questions. What I'm going to do is, and while you're working on your answers, although you seem to be able to multitask pretty good, and I wouldn't doubt that you would, I'm going to do the breathing exercise that I described earlier as I was doing the meditation stuff. And it's kind of in the middle. I would say it was around the hour-ish mark, honestly, because I had an intro and then a couple little distractions, and yeah. But I'm going to do the breathing exercise, because as much as I'm enjoying chatting, I do feel like I need to slow myself down a little bit, but keep the comments coming. One or both of you. And then we're past just and then we'll talk about those two topics maybe and wrap it up with a song, which was my intent originally. And since we know each other via Maxi, it would make sense. I'm going to do the new one that I discovered. I haven't done it very often, but it was cool. I don't know if you play sports at all, but even if you don't, it was kind of cool. So it's excited eyes, excited eyeballs. Sorry. Can even work down the body. Not that I'm not feeling good, but I noticed that did something for me. So try it. See if it does something for you. That looks cool. Not meant to look cool. OMG. But I remember I once had an experience. It was almost as if they knew her. And I'm not the only one that did it. I don't watch those talent shows very often, but I tried to do a parody of one of the ones that was fairly well known for her audition. And she has since passed away in a horrific way. I don't remember when, but a number of years ago, I think. And when I said this is not something to look cool, it made me think about how she said, this song is to be understood from an academic perspective. It's not something to be liked. I'm a holistic vocal coach. What does that mean? I'm a holistic coach and I teach holistically or something like that. Does this sound familiar to you? If not, look up Ariel Burnett later. I'm not trying to tease her. She had spunk and personality. Maybe that's why I liked it, because I really... Those hand flips, awesome. Just express that, how we should respond to our anxiety. Well, yeah. And like I said, I explained it earlier in the thing. I guess you could call it hand flips. I likened it to shooting hoops. Or if nothing else, do that. But yes. Okay, so you don't seem to want to talk about the afterlife. Either that or you're just not doing so. That's fine. It's just I was kind of thinking of my loved ones in heaven when you tuned in. And I'm curious, yeah, it's an interesting topic, I find. As far as jealousy, is something I sometimes need to work on, and also an interesting topic. What works? I think I know what you're saying, but what works? Now, I'm just going to step into the other room for about 5 minutes. I pulled out one of my guitars that I haven't had out in a while. Right. And there's a part of me that wants to press it one more time and just say, why don't you want to talk about those two things? Or am I wrong and you just aren't getting to it yet? But, I won't say it any further. But, or will I? No, just kidding. I don't want to be annoying. And I was surprised how in tune it was, because it's been sitting in that room that has the window open, and we've gotten a couple of days with some rain, but it's behind the door and it's not super close to the window, and it's been moved around a bit, and I haven't been able to find my working tuner, but it sounds fairly decent, I think. And the other guitar that we have, I thought was shared between me and the other person in the house, who doesn't really even play guitar, really. And then the one day he was kind of like, well, this is my guitar. I was like, oh, is it? Oh, is it now? Well, okay then. I never want to see it again then, because I thought it was mine too, But I do have one. I could also do it on piano. And the song I want to do, I actually just heard for the first time yesterday, I think. The one that comes to mind. I'm open to requests. And then I'll probably go watch Maxie and have some lunch if he's streaming, or if he has streamed. And I know he said a couple things the other day that made me like, seriously, did he really say that? But I love him, and you know what I mean by that, or do you? No, just kidding. but anywho, but yeah. So basically, and it's got a nice message, and it's a fun tune. Now I'm from 2 to 1, but I hope you're still here, Anonymous, because you're the one that's talking. But yeah, so I'm just. I just want to make sure you're still here, actually, and then I'll wrap this up soon. I have to, step away. Okay, I have to step away for 5 minutes. Then I'll go downstairs with the device, which will hopefully be at 75% by then. I'll do the song. I'll wear a thong. Just kidding. And then I'll wrap it up. And then once it's posted, after a few minutes, you should be able to watch it, at least 10. You can check out the beginning or wherever you want to click in. I'd be curious to hear what you thought of that part. There wasn't a lot of feedback coming in, and I honestly feel like I did pretty well, and I don't really need the feedback, but I'd still be curious to hear. So I'm just going to quickly do that so that I can focus on the song at hand, and I'll be right back. I'm glad that you are. It's very much even in the house. Kind of ironic after that. And I know you're anonymous, but I'm just curious, your first name at least your first name. Could be on a first name basis. That being said, because of the randomness of YouTube, although you're the only one here right now, though occasionally it'll show that someone has, like if there's only one person watching and then it shows that they left, they're like, no, I'm still here. So I don't know what's up with YouTube sometimes. But so I don't know if I want to be that honest. And Anna or Anna is your nickname. Are you just wondering, do you identify as female? Because I for some reason I thought you were a guy. I don't know why. And it could be from a psychological perspective because I pretty much identify as one. And so maybe I thought, oh, so I want you to be like me in that way. I don't know. But it's okay either way. Biologically, you caught on to my wording, did you? But because it's the same with pets. Like you say, oh, how old is he? Well, he's not a he. You are, but, you know. But I kind of want to be open about something. Even if it's not my name. Although, because I don't think it was super obvious earlier. Although, when I was walking around, it may have been. But when I looked back at the screen, I don't think it was. And I mostly feel comfortable, but I'm not sure. Just going to put these pillows away. It'd be a bit of a segue or whatever. Not, because I'm random and free spirited and kind of weird. But it's interesting when I think back about my childhood for a while. I think I did stuff like this, trying to be a woman. Do you ever do that? I don't know. I'm being silly, but what can you do? Okay, and then I'll bring this downstairs. I'm just going to put the pillow that I had behind me back on the bed. I don't know why Shania Twain sings about man. She feels like a woman. She is a woman. To my knowledge, she's a woman. Now, you didn't. Oh, right. Sorry. Sorry. You did say you're biologically female. Would you ever stuff something somewhere else? I'm just kidding. The joys of being a free spirit. Now, can I carry everything down? That doesn't need to. I'm just going to get a cold one downstairs. And no, I don't mean beer. I'm drunk enough on life. Just kidding. Okay, so the only other thing I have to carry down, I'm going to turn this off. But yeah, I think even though I've had fans on, I think the damp mugginess outside with the window slightly open, it's gotten in here. And that's why I just keep feeling like I need a shower. Maybe I do. Okay, this is going to be a bit of a balancing act. Now, when I get to the bottom of the stairs, you may hear a clamor. I know that sounds weird, but we have a thing at the bottom of our stairs so that our dog, which is not just on a towel, but an actual dog, doesn't get upstairs. Oh, that door is closed. Without us being up here for the most part, because he still is a curious puppy for the most part, and he could get into things and, chew on things. And, so when he's up here, it's kind of with that door closed, there's minimal stuff, although there's other incidents that he could get into. And he likes to spend a lot of time in his little crate, actually. See, what's hard is that this is a laptop. If it was a phone, I'd just put it in my pocket or something for a moment. This doesn't have a strap on it anymore. And I want to put my rest of my coffee in the fridge. So I'm walking downstairs with a coffee and a guitar in one hand, something I don't really need under my arm at the moment. Okay. And the thing is open, so I take back this time that thing about the noise. There's some irony there. You mean like Mary Poppins? That is really wild, though, I must say, because every now and then I accidentally do, but I usually catch myself before I hit the floor. But that's a memory I have of my dad who passed when I was young. I didn't see it happen that I recall, But he fell down the stairs once and put a nice little hole. I think it was one of those ones that kind of curved like this one. I mean, he wasn't a huge man. He was solid, I guess, but put a nice little hole in the wall. And then there was my cousin, who was a teenager who had a lot of, not that, I mean, many do, but many people do in general, who had a lot of frustration and instead of hurting herself, although maybe she did that too, she would like put holes in walls. And I do kind of, speaking about the afterlife, I mean, this makes me think of my dad and makes me think of Holly and Carly. It does. It really, But okay, so I'm downstairs now. I'm going to plug in the laptop. I'm going to put this back at the stairs because I didn't mean to bring it. I am going to wonder where my other sock is. Did I not bring it down? Maybe I didn't. I'm just going to get myself cold water, and then I'll do the song. Finally. I'm late. You should see how I have the guitar right now. My goodness me. Trying to get it out of tune or something. But it was interesting when you said, oh yeah, because I'm a very verbal person and I have a hard time thinking in my head unless I have to. And, like if I'm out and around people, usually then I take it to writing, whether it's a conversation or whatever. Come to think of it. And it's not uncommon, right? But then also, yeah, we'll just say that. We'll just say that way. All right. I also am very, very quickly, sorry to make you wait, but I'll let you catch up on things. I'm also very, very quickly going to just run. I'm not as Maxie, I guess, is fairly focused. I have ADHD, but I've been waiting for something kind of important in the mail. Sometimes people steal packages and possibly out of people's mailboxes. And I'll take that step once I get the thing in the mail. It's also kind of wet out, so I want to get it before it rains or gets damp. My humor is nice and different. I'm glad that you say it's nice. What do you mean? How is it different? Different than what? I'm curious. There. Focus on that till I get back. And I don't know where a pick is, which is annoying. But I do know where a toonie is. I haven't seen him water the insect plants in a while. And that wood could stand to have some. That was that bad. What am I looking for? Water, nail, and right, a coin in a fountain. I can't afford to put my coins in a fountain, but I do want my wishes to come true. Toonie is nice and big, so okay. It is, eh? Not just the toonie. So. We shall just be glad that we have two knees because some only have one. Or none. Sorry. Okay. And on that note, put the coffee in the fridge. I want lunch. I want to see Maxie soon. You're like, I want $1 million. What's your point? I wish I knew where my other sock was. I don't know why I keep thinking of you as an Asian guy. Boy, you said you're an Asian earlier. It's all good. Okay, what do we got here? Usually we associate humor with cracking jokes or something made up. But when it comes naturally unprepared, it just hits differently, making it naturally funny. Well, sorry about the bright sun there. It's really not that bright outside, but yeah, like it's not at someone's expense. I guess that's part of it. And I even remember the one particular person who told it to me. Maybe others did, but I don't remember them. They weren't memorable. Check it out. She said, "You're not even really trying to be funny." I feel like she also said it to someone else too, or I've heard somebody say it to someone else. And yeah, I mean, just like I don't try and be a good person, I just naturally am, for the most, yeah. I mean, maybe to some it appears like I'm trying hard, and maybe sometimes I am, but usually I'm not. So with the sun shining on me, now you're the only person here right now, and I don't necessarily feel like you need this message, but unless you have other song requests, this is what I've got. And I don't know if doesn't mean you won't enjoy it. I didn't put a lot of cold water, a lot of warm water in there. That might be too cold for my teeth. I'm also curious what your thoughts are about faith music. Faith music. In fact, there was somebody. Wouldn't it be funny if she tuned in? I think she was talking about Faith Hill. That's not what I'm talking about, but it would be actually really ironic. Maybe I'll do it anyway, and I'll put a little note that I did it at the end, and that way, if she wants to come in and see that, and then once she's hooked, she'll enjoy the rest. Not that I'm trying to hook people, but it just kind of happens, right? So I'm not super familiar with this song, so hopefully I do it justice. Oh, I didn't have to reload it, or did I? There it is. Ooh, that doesn't sound good. The A doesn't sound right, but the rest sounds okay. Weird. For the good and everything, the people set yourself free. It always seems impossible till it's done. For the good in everyone, for the good in everything. Look for the people who will set your soul free. It always seems impossible until it's done. For the good in everyone. I don't know if I'm getting the melody right. I'm going where the chords are lined up. It's Jason Mraz, so you can always check it out afterwards. But people done gone mad. People forgot the superpowers we all have. We're born to love, not to hate. We can decide our fate. Well, look for the good in everyone. Celebrate all our mistakes. I'm just going to read the lyrics with this one. If there's a silver lining, you still have to find it. You find it. You find it. Look for the good in everyone. Look for the people who were okay. That part we already did. Everyone needs sunshine. Everyone needs rains. Everyone is carrying around some kind of pain. I see who you are. You're just like me. I see you're searching for purpose, guided by a dream. I see who you are. I'm just like you. I get lost sometimes and I forget what I came here to do. I keep on trying when it gets frightening. Look for the good. Look for the good. Da 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 da. Everyone is nature. Everyone is God. That's heavy to say, but everyone is love and light and vibration. Um, Everyone gets mad, and sometimes maybe they should. Look for the good. Look for the good. Look out for all the heroes in your neighborhood. Life, but I think that's